I'm Marty Cohn, and this is BCTV's Meet the Candidates 2020, sponsored in part by Brattleboro Savings and Loan. This series affords you the opportunity to hear from folks running for elected office. Today, our guest is Erynn Hazlett Whitney, an independent candidate for the Vermont governor. Welcome, Ms. Whitney.
Hi, Martin. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, well, thanks for taking the time to come on the show and tell the voters all about you. So let's delve right in. Here's my first question. Why are you running for governor?
That's a good question. I many years ago decided in a vision board that I made that being governor was a goal of mine, but it was meant to be a little bit longer than right now. It was supposed to be after I retired from the service, so like 12 years from now. But this happened, and so my retirement from the service happened 10 years sooner than what I had expected. My decision to run for governor came after this bill, H401, was killed by the legislature this year and was not advocated for by Governor Phil Scott or the Adjutant General of the Vermont National Guard, Gregory Knight. A little bit of background about the bill and why it matters so much is this bill was drafted and created with the help of Doris Sumner, who spent many, many years in the Vermont National Guard as the diversity officer. And when part of her responsibilities at times were investigating the sexual assault cases or diversity, equal opportunity, sort of federally protected classifications of investigations. And what she had found through all of this research and these investigations, that women in the service, generally their careers end at about 12 years. I'm at 11 and a half. And that number lowers very substantially if they are a victim of sexual assault or part of the investigation process for a diversity issue. So what Doris did, working with some other people, is created H401, which would have created a civilian oversight position that reported directly to the governor and oversaw only the sexual assault and equal opportunity investigations. And the reason why this was so important is my case specifically is a great example. I was sexually assaulted in 2016 by a senior non-commissioned officer. In the 2.5 years that followed after I reported my sexual assault, that man was able to retire. And I was moved around the National Guard, transferred. My career was not the priority. The assaulter's career was the priority. And there are a lot of different reasons why that investigation took so long. A lot of it is unethical leadership behavior. And so when this bill was introduced, it was going to give victims the opportunity to have an advocate outside of the system. Seeing that there are 30 plus women, service members, air members, and Army members who have provided written statements of the hostile work environment that is under the command of the Adjutant General and our governor, passing this bill would have allowed the state to also research female careers in the service, to figure out how we can keep and retain amazing leaders and strong service members longer and move them and earn them into senior leadership positions so that there are more women in command for the long term of the Vermont National Guard. The day that this bill was killed, and the Adjutant General was quoted in the Vermont Digger that he reports to the governor and that this position is not necessary, was the day I decided to activate my plan to run for governor so that I can command that this climate is addressed, because Governor Scott has ignored it for 4 years, actually 8 because he was the lieutenant governor for 4 before this. And that's basically the duration of these 30 women's careers, where they've been either assaulted, harassed, or ignored. So that's why.
Okay, so I guess you kind of got a little bit into this, but what sets you apart from the other candidates running for governor?
Sure. I think the biggest difference is that I have military service. So we have many governor candidates who have many years of experience in the legislature, and that service is very valuable to this position. But we don't have a governor candidate besides myself who has served in the service. And half of the responsibility, and a significant responsibility coming up over the next 2 years for the governor, is to oversee one of the most difficult deployments that the Vermont National Guard will endure and attempt. Normally the National Guard deploys together. So we fight together, we train together, we move as an organization. We pick up our vehicles, we pick up our guns, we pick up our medical equipment, and we go. This time we will be doing that, but we will be spreading our Vermont soldiers, Vermont National Guard service members around the globe into different locations. And because of that, there is a great possibility that many of these soldiers will end up earning different benefits than others. And this is a complex issue that has to have the attention of the governor, and it has to have the experience in order to lead and to protect our troops and to have the most successful mission that we can have.
All right. So if you're elected governor, what would be, I kind of know what one, but what would be your top two priorities? What your top two priorities if you're elected governor?
Sure, I'll change it up for you a little bit. Okay, Martin, because I do love talking about the service. It's a passion of mine, but economically, Vermont needs a change. I've been here for 33 years. I've moved off and on, in and out, but basically what I have grown up seeing is my peers leave the state and don't come back. The ones that stay are in the trades. The ones that stay love the outdoors. And what I hear from Vermonters pretty much everywhere that have families and are part of the future of Vermont is outdoor recreation is priority in their leisure time. And so as Vermonters, what we can do to capitalize off of this passion that so many Vermonters have is to open up the vast trails to dirt bikers, ATVs, side-by-sides, and follow the sister states of ours, New Hampshire and Maine, and start a registration and start collecting income from outdoor recreation. There's many opportunities where we can give tax breaks, tax credits, plus just the fees and the revenue that will be created from this mass population. We live in Arlington, and our road, in like a 2-mile stretch, there's probably 11 dirt biking families, and they all go out of state and spend their money. So we're really missing an economic opportunity that the youth are involved in. So one of my first priorities would definitely be to open up the vast trails for registration for multiple different types of off-roading vehicles. And then my other priority will be to ensure that the National Guard has an ethical restructuring. Right now, in addition to there being very hostile work environments for females, we are under strength. So I spent many years recruiting in the National Guard, and year after year, we struggle to meet our mission of recruiting the number of soldiers and service members that we need in order to be full strength. And the reason for that is, like I just said, people leave Vermont. And so young people are not choosing to join the armed forces, and we are critically low in strength. And what is happening is when we go to train, soldiers are not able to train on the occupation that they are primarily in because they are being tasked with doing more of the survival skills training in order to just maintain operations. So one of the biggest plans I have for the Vermont National Guard is to decrease its size. We don't have the capacity to keep putting soldiers into vacant positions because the soldiers are not there. The motto right now is recruit, 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 but you cannot create humans in a state to fill job positions. We see it even in the private market. Everyone has help wanted signs up. There's just nobody here. So we have to at least take a step internally with our armed forces, because soldiers are struggling to say the least. There's an experience last year with the JRTC program, which National Guard soldiers go to qualify for deployments. There was a lot of injuries, there were deaths, and most soldiers would say, well, it was hard training, which sometimes correlates to good training. It wasn't thorough training. It was survival training as opposed to tactical and efficiency training. So we do need to cut the force.
Okay. I'd like to turn to a couple of issues. If you're elected governor,
yes,
what would you do to ensure that more Vermont families with young children can find and afford childcare?
It's a great question. It's a question that we're struggling with in our household right now. I have a 1-year-old, and even when I was pregnant, we were on a multiple month-long waiting list at our local childcare provider. So I think the first step is to lower the regulations and the requirements for childcare centers. Right now, you need a bachelor's degree with excessive certificate training. We let people leave hospitals with babies without high school diplomas. Who I choose to watch my child should not be determined by the state if they have a bachelor's degree or not. So I would immediately remove the requirement for bachelor degree holders to be the only ones who can open and maintain a childcare facility. The programs, the books, the instructions, the guidelines for after school programs for, outside of infant and toddler care, it's like 85 pages that these home providers need to follow and adhere to. For infants and childcare, you get up to 140 pages. So right now in our communities, we need someone like myself or someone, similar to me who maybe has the opportunity now because of COVID, who's home, to open up their home and take in neighboring children, but maybe they don't have a degree. We're really just shooting ourselves in the foot trying to be elite, saying that degree holders are the best childcare providers, when that's just not true. So lowering the regulations will create a more competitive market and immediately give more families the opportunity to open childcare centers, and then the families have more options. And then competition itself will level them out.
All right. Well, now I'm going to ask you about the other end of the age spectrum. Recent reports indicate that seniors in Vermont face one of the highest rates of financial insecurity in the nation.
Yeah.
How do you think we can make life for seniors more affordable?
Yeah. Being a senior is hard in Vermont. My grandparents have all stayed, and they're each in different situations. So just from my experience watching them, one of the first things we can do is flip the property tax burden. So right now, out-of-staters who have second homeowners here pay a lower property tax than in-state residents, and we need to switch that. One, that's just not beneficial for any Vermonter. We need to lower homestead property tax rates, which will help any senior who is a homeowner. But then I also think that we need to, as a society in Vermont, merge to a universal income. We are spending so much money having so many different programs and staff managing and monitoring those programs, where if we merge all of those into one financial deposit for each Vermonter in need, whether they're elderly, whether they're disabled, whether they're single parents, we're giving power to the people of Vermont to choose how they invest that support. And so if it's for seniors, they need more assistance with medicine, or they need more assistance with heat costs, or maybe they have their mortgage all paid off so they don't need assistance with home payments. They're going to be able to choose how they spend that state support money. And Vermont's going to save a lot of money because we're going to remove so many different employees and departments and merge it all into one. So I see that being beneficial for seniors and many other demographics of Vermont as well.
All right, thank you. All right, so what is your vision for Vermont in a post-COVID world?
Oh, I wish it was right now. Yeah. I think that it's challenging for me as a low risk Vermonter in COVID world right now. Our family is less concerned with transmitting and receiving COVID as we are some of the economical impacts that these restrictions and regulations have impacted us. So post-COVID, post-voting for me is definitely the removal of masks. Masks are, from my experience, signs of long-term oppression. So we do need to be very aware of the symbolism of what unnecessary mask wearing is doing to our society and to our children. Many states over the hundreds of years of America have banned masks, and now we are latching onto them. I use the expression as teddy bears because we're essentially putting a t-shirt over our face. A lot of these masks that people are wearing are not even efficient at stopping the spread of COVID-19. It's more just this cotton layer, creating this false sense of security. So maskless Vermont is post-COVID. Students should not be in plastic cubicles in school, then also behind masks. They should not be walking down the hallway 6 feet apart from each other. We need to immerse our children into full head-on learning again, hands-on interactive learning. Those are the two priorities for me in terms of getting back to society. I also, I'm never going to tell someone they have to have vaccinations. I think that's one of the freedoms of America and in Vermont, that you can choose. Choice is important. It stems back to women's rights, bodily autonomy. Choice is always something that is important to, I think, Vermonters and also Americans. So creating a society where we take this shaming that's happening right now in our culture, whether it's for not wearing a mask or for being anti-vax or for going grocery shopping at the wrong hour, we have just pitted ourselves against each other out of fear. So we need to command through COVID and come out hopefully inspired as opposed to fearful, because fearful is not working for Vermont and it's not really working for America. Our seams are busting and we need to do everything we can to consolidate this excess fear and retarget it back into aligned goals. So focusing on cannabis culture is going to be critical. One, cannabis culture is a gateway, entryway opportunity for so many different types of medical treatments for service members like myself. Many service members are going to come back from this deployment and they're going to get out of the service and they're going to realize that they have been told through their whole career that THC is terrible for you and it will ruin your life, and then it's going to save their lives through their post-traumatic stress disorder. So cannabis culture specifically for the service is important, but also for our economy. We've seen it all over the nation. Millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars is to be made. And while Vermont's a smaller scale than that, and we're a little bit behind the timeline of breaking into that culture, we still have an opportunity to make a lot of money, tax revenue. I don't think that the tax rate that they've put out is excessive. I think we're okay and we're headed in the right direction there. ATVs, like I said, outdoor recreation, I think we have one of the lowest cases in the nation because we generally live outside. We use the outdoors. We need to keep doing that. We need to highlight that part of Vermont. We need to increase population. Land grants would be an exceptional way to show the nation how Vermont can lead with reparations. We have less than 1% of a diverse population in Vermont, and it would be a thrill to spear and head start a land reparations program for diverse Americans to relocate to Vermont. I think we have a really amazing opportunity to create a program that can be replicated nationwide and help Vermont while also helping so many Americans of color around the nation find a safe place to live. So it's, post-COVID is let's get back to business. Let's get back to freedom. Let's get back to health. Let's keep people outside, focus on families and bring the economy back because we're going backwards right
now. Okay, well, last question for today. What do you want voters to know about you?
So this is the hardest question for me because when I decided to run for governor, it was in advocacy of so many other people. And I think that's sort of part of the service member mentality, is to do things for other people. So when I have to talk about myself a little bit, it's a little bit hard. So for me, I think people can see I'm a pretty straight shooter, but I have insecurities. I have a lot of, growing up as a woman in America, you're gonna see me with different looks and different visual appeals, because I think that the way that I approach and presenting myself is gonna attract different people. So listen to my words, see what I'm putting out there. I am gonna be using any media opportunity to spread a message. Here's H401. Some of the others coming up in some of my other campaigns that you'll see soon is pretty blunt marketing advertising in terms of my message. So here's a pretty sad story that I learned in terms of some of the harassment and culture that soldiers have in the Vermont National Guard. But a service member who was raped reported her rape, and then her commanding officer asked her, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad of a rape was it? So I'm here to rip the Band-Aid off. I'm not here to side skirt the issues anymore. Vermont needs a leader who is going to be aggressive in taking action, and also bold. I want to talk about things like male circumcision and how that's a total humanitarian violation of of boys' autonomy and genital mutilation. I want to talk about breastfeeding. I want to talk about things that have to do with the family, because the family is the future. I see articles talking about people who are moving to Vermont who have no intention of having children, who have no intention of opening businesses. I don't want to hear about that. I want to hear about the people who are coming to invest in our communities and give Vermont the opportunity for my son and for the children of my community to have a state here that actually is prosperous and they want to stay in. And so I'm just going to be a sharpshooter this whole time. I'm going to say things, I'm going to do things that are going to make people uncomfortable, because right now we're sort of tiptoeing through the tulips, and you can't win games tiptoeing through the tulips.
Okay. Erynn Hazlett Whitney, an independent candidate for Vermont governor. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Martin. Have a great day.
Okay, well, you can learn more by visiting the campaign's website, www.whitney-2020.com. That's www.whitney-2020.com. The general election is on Tuesday, November 3rd. Remember, you can vote early in person, you can vote absentee by mail, or vote absentee hand-delivered on election day. Whichever way works for you, please vote. Thanks for watching Meet the Candidates 2020, sponsored in part by Brattleboro Savings and Loan. I'm Marty Cohn. Thanks for watching, and stay healthy.